going on, everybody? You are live with Osiris. Welcome to the Author's Lounge. The world is filled with storytellers, and I, along with my guests, are here today in the Author's Lounge to help educate and inspire the young generation of writers and creators. Now, my guests are professionals in publishing, writers from a wide range of formats, and successful entertainers. They will provide beneficial advice on what to do and what not to do on your path to success. So, without further ado, I'll present to you our next guest. Let's go. I'll present to you all Mr. slash Dr. Eddie Gamarra, or Gamarra.
All good, Cyrus. All good, man. It's all good. I appreciate the introduction. Thank you so much for having me.
Before we went on air and was recording, you had mentioned some of the people that you worked with and some of the networks. So I think that's important as well. So if you don't mind, kind of giving you the floor and saying what are some of the highlights of your career, some things that you've worked on, and the people you've worked with.
Sure. I was very blessed to be included as an executive producer of 5 movies. So I worked on the Maze Runner trilogy with 20th Century Fox. That was based off of a young adult book series. Did about almost $1 billion in box office. Very happy about that.
Yeah.
Did a movie called Stargirl with Disney Plus, based off of an iconic young adult love story by a gentleman named Jerry Spinelli. Really beautiful story, coming of age love story. And then, the last project I worked on back in the day was a stop motion animated horror comedy called Wendall Wild, which was created by Henry Selik, the director of Nightmare Before Christmas and Coraline. Henry had this crazy idea about these 2 demon brothers and a demon buster girl, and partnered him up with Jordan Peele, who had won the Oscar for Get Out. So Jordan co-produced that stop motion animated horror comedy. That's on Netflix. So if you're a fan of those kinds of movies, check it out.
Yeah. I know myself I am as well, especially the Coraline, Nightmare Before Christmas were 2 films that I very much adored. One of the things I have to ask as well, because it's not often that I get to actually speak with an executive producer, and I'm always curious what goes fully into that process as an executive producer when it comes to some of these films or some of the projects you work on. So for yourself, sir, let's say you have
Sure.
someone's pitching an idea, they have the next big thing. Let's just assume it's the next big thing, right? This next big project, and they present it and they pitch it to you. What is a pitch that you're looking for that says, you know what, let's shoot for this and let's give it the green light and let's see what happens?
Sure. So sort of 2 questions within that, like what does an executive producer do, and then how do we vet pitches? How do we look at pitches?
Yes, sir.
So, one thing your listeners, should understand is that the title executive producer means something different in film than it does in television, right? So in film, the person or persons who wins the Oscar, the Academy Award for Best Picture, those are typically the producers of the movie. The producers are really the people responsible for getting that movie made from start to finish. Executive producers are sort of like the second tier below. And an executive producer is a credit that can be given to folks who are rendering different kinds of services. Sometimes it's about fundraising a percentage of the budget of the film. Sometimes it's about securing the rights to the underlying material or the property that the movie's based on. And the Producers Guild of America, on their website, has kind of a breakdown of what's the difference between a producer and an executive producer and all the other different kinds of producers there are. Consulting producers, associate producers. In Hollywood, the title of producer has been sort of abused over the years, and professional producers, real day-to-day, boots-on-the-ground producers, wanted to clarify what producers do. So if anyone's interested, check out the Producers Guild of America for the actual checklist
Hmm.
of what jobs you need to be doing to qualify as a capital P producer or as an executive producer, etc. For the movies that I was involved in, part of it was getting involved in the rights that the movies were based on, navigating all that, doing certain kinds of deals to help get the movie set up, and a tiny bit involved in locations and casting and the shooting schedule and developing the
Hmm.
scripts, things like that.
Yeah.
With TV, executive producer is the top dog, the showrunner is the top dog.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of inverted. So in film, capital P producer is the top dog. In TV, it's the executive producer. I've not been involved in any TV shows yet, unfortunately, but I will. I will be changing that at some point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So as a independent producer now, having my own company, it's my goal, it's my aspiration to find projects, and those projects could come from pitches, they could come from existing literary material.
Hmm.
They could be a newspaper article, a magazine article, they could be a podcast, a play, a toy, a board game, a video game. They could be coming from a script, a comic book, a novel, a nonfiction book, any kind of source material. I want to be able to identify that source material and figure out, could it be a movie, could it be a TV show.
Mm.
I was going to wear my producer's hat when reading the news, when reading fiction or nonfiction. I'm going to ask myself, oh, could that be a movie? Could that be a TV show?
Hmm.
So, for example, I was reading an old magazine I bought in a flea market. It's a crazy story.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, damn, that's totally a movie, right?
Yeah.
And in that process, like that's kind of like that inner producer voice.
Yeah.
Is it a movie? Is it a TV show? Could it be a movie? Could it be a TV show? Right? So when it comes to vetting pitches,
Hmm.
I am technically not looking for unsolicited submissions. I am not legally open to unsolicited submissions.
Hmm.
But if I am chatting with somebody who doesn't have an agent, a manager, or a lawyer,
Hmm.
certainly I can send them an NDA and they can fill that out. Unfortunately, Hollywood, the entertainment industry is very litigious,
Yeah.
and we traffic in ideas. We traffic in high concepts. We traffic in pitches.
Hmm.
And so I always want to be really mindful about the business side of ideas and of pitches. You should not be giving away your pitches without the proper paperwork. But also, if your listeners are wanting to pitch, you got to be really careful when you are sent an NDA or any paperwork. Make sure it's vetted by a lawyer. There's even free lawyers for the volunteer lawyers for the arts, or the Writers Guild has resources. But don't sign paperwork, because you might accidentally be giving away your idea for free, and you don't want to do that.
Hmm.
I aspire to be the kind of producer that is fair and equitable to folks. I respect creators. I was an agent, or I was a literary manager for 15 years, so I represented screenwriters and directors and animators and authors and illustrators.
Yeah.
So I was selling their ideas, and I fought for them. I fought on their behalf for a long portion of my career. So
Hmm.
even now, as a producer, I want to make sure that they're protected as well, as best as I possibly can do it.
Yeah. So thank you so much for that breakdown. It's inspiring too, just sitting back and listening to just the work ethic that goes into it. It's a lot. And so the publisher side of me, right, looks at, okay, when it comes to books, what makes the most sense for right now as to what we're going to put out into the market? And is it going to be lucrative? Is there going to be, is there going to be a good return on investment with this book? I
Mhm.
would imagine that might be like exponentially increased with a film. But for you, when it comes to books, right? What exactly how was that pitched to you as well, right? Is it in the same notion that you go through a website, or however your process is like it would be for a film, or does that differ when it comes to someone wanting to present a book to you that the idea is to turn it into a film?
Sure. So, a couple things to kind of pick apart there, right? Because it's a juicy question. There's a lot of layers to that question. I'm always looking at material. I go to the bookstore. I'm looking at the bookshelves. I go to book fairs. I go to events, author signings, and I'm always asking myself, oh, could this book be a movie? Could it be a TV show? If I'm interested in something that I find, I go to the author's book agent and I ask the book agent two questions. Hi, I'm Eddie. I'm a producer. I've done these movies. I'm interested in your book. I'm curious, A, are the film and TV rights or the media rights, are the media rights available for this book? And B, do you have a co-agent? So a book agent works with a co-agent. The co-agent handles the media rights deals, typically. Some book agents do these deals on their own. Most have a specialist who helps them. I used to be a co-agent. I used to be a media rights agent. And I worked with many, many, many agents and many, many, many publishers to sell authors' books into the entertainment business. So having been the seller, I know how to do that, right? As a buyer, because I worked for Paramount for 5 years, I was looking for books to acquire, comic books, other kinds of IP, other kinds of intellectual property. I always know, go to the book agent first, then go to ask them who their co-agent is.
Yeah.
Even if the rights are not available, I still want to let the co-agent know that I'm interested in that project, because they're going to keep records. If they're good co-agents, if they're good at their job, they're going to keep a record of incoming interest.
Right.
Because I may be nobody now, but in 3 years from now, or 10 years from now, or 15 years from now, if I'm really somebody, they're going to be like, oh, damn, according to our records, Eddie looked at that book back in 2025, right?
Right.
So that's if I'm searching for material. If I am presented something, it's usually going to come through an agent or a co-agent, a manager, or a lawyer. Or sometimes my friends have gotten the rights to projects. They've already themselves done a deal where they got the rights to that book or that article, and they'll come to me and say, hey, do you want to partner up on something? Okay, that does happen. In fact, some of the projects on my own slate are friends who had the rights to books or articles and came to me and said, hey, let's partner. So yeah, when I'm looking at material, I'm trying to pay attention to a couple of factors. One, what's already in the market? What's recently come out? What's recently done well? What's not yet out, but what's in development or what's in production? What's in post-production? What's going to be coming out next year? Because I don't want to spend time and energy and money trying to get a book or an article about a subject or about a person if I know that there's already a movie coming out or a TV show coming out about that.
Right.
It's a waste of time. I don't want to do that. So you got to be paying attention to what's in the market and what's coming out into the market soon. The other thing is, most of these adaptations take a really, really, really long time. Right? It takes years to make a movie in general, typically. So I want to really be sure that I can live with this project for years and years and years and years. Because even after the movie comes out or the show comes out, it's still an asset that's going to live in your portfolio until it becomes public domain decades from now. So you want to be really mindful that you can dedicate the rest of your life to moving that project forward. Okay? That's as a producer.
Right.
When I'm looking at material, not only am I looking at what the market is, not only am I looking at what I'm passionate about, but also what do I think is makeable at a certain price point and in a certain time frame, right? Because everything's about time and it's about money, right?
Right.
So if I know my resources are limited, meaning I don't have a lot of cash, meaning I got to make it fast, that's going to change the kinds of projects I go after.
Right.
Versus like that lifelong passion project, that I know is going to take me 5, 10, 15 years to make happen, but I'm going to try and stick with it. I mean, right now, things like epic sci-fi, epic fantasy, um, historical dramas are rarer. They're less common in the business because they cost more to make. If you have a cast of thousands, if you have 17 different locations in the first act alone, if you have a huge ensemble, if you have a lot of costumes and props, all of that is going to add costs.
Yeah.
So you're going to find that right now, especially in the film business, a lot of the movies that are moving forward are character driven, contained to a few locations, very affordable kinds of movies. Look at the last Oscar cycle: Anora, Real
Yep.
Pain, Sing Sing. Those kinds of movies were contained, castable, cost efficient movies to make.
For sure. Now, with that being said, right, one of the things a buddy of mine, his name is BJ Lane. He lives somewhere out in Los Angeles. But one of the things that he was talking to me about with the industry, right, the entertainment industry specifically in Hollywood, is that because of the cost and because of what's going on, I don't even want to get into politics because I'm not really educated in the political side of it, but this just how affordable it is to film a movie in, let's say, a place like Texas or in Georgia versus it being filmed in Los Angeles. With where you are currently in your career as a producer, are you all, well, and I won't say you all, but I guess as a whole, from what you know, is it more advantageous for films to stay in Los Angeles, or do they typically look elsewhere to save money?
I mean, there's been a lot written and a lot discussed in terms of the runaway production problem here.
Hmm.
We are, in a sense, the victims of our own success as the sort of entertainment capital.
Yeah.
Los Angeles had this sort of place of privilege, and with the amount of production, we ended up building bureaucratic structures
Hmm.
like permitting processes,
Yeah.
right? Where
Yeah.
suddenly there's, all these costs
Hmm.
affiliated with trying to shoot a movie that have now made it cost prohibitive to
Right.
shoot a movie. That's part one. Part two is, as a nation, we historically value the arts to a certain degree,
Hmm.
right?
Right.
But we don't invest in the arts in a very, very significant way compared to other countries.
Hmm.
Countries like Canada have a very long-standing system of subsidizing film and TV production, training actors, supporting animation studios with a variety of tools, be it
Hmm.
tax rebates, incentives, different kind of financial models
Hmm.
that allowed scrappy startup kind of creators to
Hmm.
make stuff with a little bit of the backing from the government. And we see other countries, England, Ireland, Spain, France, Australia, build government backed ventures
Hmm.
that can help subsidize productions. And if we can't compete, that's capitalism for you. People are going to go and shoot in England. They're going to shoot in Georgia. They're going to shoot in New Mexico. I would love to do movies based in LA. I would love to be able to afford to make movies in LA. And again, without diving into politics,
Hmm.
we have some really interesting crossroads that we need to figure out between how unions operate,
Hmm.
how the government subsidizes or doesn't subsidize productions, how we can be competitive, how we can be less bureaucratic.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, all signs point to California not being particularly competitive at this moment, and it's a
Yeah.
damn shame.
That's so unfortunate too, man, because I remember just growing up. I spent a lot of my life on the East Coast, right? And I remember as a kid just wanted to, like, California was the spot I wanted to go to. And I
Hmm.
was able to move out to California, Southern California, in the Mojave Desert, right, for about 6.5 years. And then I left, went to Northern California, it's about 40 minutes from Sacramento, stayed there for about a year, and now I'm here. But where I'm getting at is that I remember hearing so much about the how lucrative it is out in California, specifically in the Los Angeles area, and how everyone you need to go, you need everyone who wanted to be somebody in the entertainment business either needed to go to Los Angeles, California, or somewhere in New York. It's what I heard growing up. But now hearing about just the unfortunate circumstances of pretty much, the victim of your own success, I liked how you phrased that because of added cost that may not necessarily make sense other than, hey, we need to fund this for ourselves before you can fund it for yourselves. And so, no, I guess it makes sense, but it is unfortunate because now, like I mentioned with my buddy BJ, he's concerned on, hey, am I going to still receive work here, or am I going to need to relocate to another state to kind of balance that out? Even for people who are wealthy or well off financially or even rich, some people who I've met who fall into that tax bracket still say, yeah, I could afford to live out there, but why would I want to spend all that extra money to live out there when I can save more money here? Like for you, right? You're a well put together man. You've worked on many projects, and I'm sure you have a lot of lessons learned, right, when it comes to financial, to like finances, when it comes to yourself financially. But I wanted to ask, right, for people who are not in California and they see that as a have to go live there to do anything in the business, whether they want to be an actor or they want to be a producer or a director. Well, what do you say to them, in terms of should I go out there to do this or not?
I would say don't.
Mhm.
Don't move here right now. I mean, I have lots of conversations with students graduating college, students graduating grad school, people who are changing careers midlife. People who got divorced who are trying to be aspiring, actors in their 50s. And I say, you have to go where the work is,
Mhm.
right? And so if you live in Georgia, why would you move here?
Mhm.
You have to be flexible. You have to be able to bounce, to go on set, go to location, all the time. But go where things are being produced. And all of that information is basically public, right? Because like
Mhm.
every state has a film commission. New York City has the mayor's office of film and television, but then there's
Mhm.
like the Mid Hudson Valley Film Commission. Then there's the Upstate New York Film Commission. Like there are governmental entities that are the permit granting parties, and you
Mhm.
can literally go and track where stuff is being shot.
Mhm.
And if you want to be a local hire extra actor and that's your way to break in, Albuquerque may be a perfectly reasonable place. Vancouver may be a perfectly reasonable place.
Mhm.
Um, uh, Ireland may be a perfectly reasonable place to live. As a former literary manager back in the day, I had clients who were exploring getting French citizenship, British dual citizenship, Italian citizenship, buying property in Canada.
Mhm.
Why? So they could take advantage of those financial incentives in the EU, in the
Mhm.
UK, in Canada, in Australia, and literally people getting two passports.
Yeah.
So it's heartbreaking.
Mhm.
But when I came out to LA 23 years ago, I came out here because New York had maybe 50 meaningful media companies and LA had 5,000 meaningful media companies. And it's not the same as it was 23 years ago.
Mhm.
The fanciest studio executives are getting laid off left and right. Agencies have cut back left and right. Management companies have shut down here and there. Mom and pop producers are struggling to get even the basic development fees that they used to get,
Mhm.
no problem. It's a very, very, very tough market right now.
Mm.
But I don't want to be dour. I don't want to
Right.
be a naysayer. I want to be optimistic. And where's my optimism? My optimism is the simple fact that with this phone and with your laptop, you can make a movie.
Yeah.
You could get together a group of 6 people, go rent some gear, go practice shooting shorts, go practice shooting a movie. You can make great stuff on your own terms and own and control it.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Now, how do you get that right? That piece, let's say you recorded nice 4K quality, and now you have essentially your film. And of course, there's the YouTube option, upload your short or upload your feature to YouTube. But with your experience, how does one get that marketed to a place like through like Amazon Prime or through Hulu or Netflix, right?
Sure, sure. So I think there's a couple things to think about. One is thanks to things like IMDb,
Hmm.
thanks to resources like Hollywood Reporter, Variety, and Deadline Hollywood, trade magazines, thanks to podcasts with creators, it is easier than ever before to figure out, to do the research,
Hmm.
how other independent movies got distributed,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, sir.
Listen to the podcast with the people behind A Real Pain. Listen to interviews with the creators of My Old Ass. How did they make those movies happen? As for distribution, I think it used to be the case where people would think about talking to a sales agent later in the process.
Hmm.
Why not start talking to sales agents before you start shooting?
Yeah.
If a sales agent job is to sell a completed film to a global marketplace, right, to do licensing and acquisitions deals,
Hmm.
why not talk to those people now before you start shooting,
Yeah.
before you put together a slate? You have to ask yourself, hey, what am I seeing get made? Everyone has that information.
Hmm.
How it got made, how it got distributed, used to be secrets behind a curtain. All of that stuff is more public than ever before. My homework assignment, and I say this as a former professor, my
Yeah.
homework assignment to any of your listeners who want to create an independent movie or an independent TV show, do your deep research. Figure out who were the people that got it made. Listen to every interview, read every interview with the creators of those projects, and focus on who is the distributor, who is the sales agent,
Hmm.
who is the actual exhibitor. We spend a lot of time and energy talking about screenwriting technique and directorial technique and actors technique. All of that is essential to make a great film or a great
Hmm.
show. But that's not the business. People need to start training themselves to think about what's the money flow? How did this thing get financed? Who
Yeah.
paid what for it? Was it a Sundance acquisition?
Hmm.
Was it a rev share acquisition on Tubi? People got to educate themselves about the money flow of the business. And that information is more public than ever before. Do your homework.
Do your homework. I think that's a perfect note right there. So I feel like I could literally talk to you for just a long period of time. You speak with such confidence and clarity, and you take your time, and I know what you're talking about. And so for those who are listening, right, people who have never have heard of this gentleman before, one, he was a professor. So that in itself should tell you he knows something, But aside from that, just the jewels that you're providing here in such detail, I think is such a great feeling to feel, just being on the opposite side of it, just looking into it, like being young, being a child and thinking about, oh, movies are so good. I just want to be in a movie, right? Just as a kid, you don't know the logistics that goes into it. But as you age and you start to realize, no, there's little fragments, there's little pieces, and even some films are based off of books, or this book was adapted into a screenplay, or whatever the case may be. I think there's magic around, and I love that you pointed out the idea of, hey, for people who really feel like they need to pack up and go, don't, at least not right now. If and pretty much go where the action is, go where the community that you want to be a part of, that's making those films or writing those books or whatever the case is, whatever your community is, go where they are. And I think that what I'm taking from this as well, and I'm going to let you go here shortly, sir. But please don't hang up. I just had a couple of questions afterwards after I hang up. But what I was saying is that I think that for those who don't necessarily have like a sense of direction of what they want to do, they just have an idea. I think in listening to what you're saying, just take out your phone, get some friends together, and just create something. I think goes a long way. Any closing remarks before I let you go?
The only constant is change. We know this. Hollywood has been through massive transformations over the last 100 years. From the advent of television, which they thought could maybe kill the film business, to the advent of home video, which they thought could kill the film business,
Yeah.
to the streaming platforms, which they thought could kill the film business,
Mhm.
AI, which they think may kill the film business.
Mhm.
We have to, as storytellers, learn how, as Bruce Lee said, to be like water.
Mhm.
How do we flow with change? How do we participate in a community of creative people with ever-changing tools at our disposal?
Mhm.
Great stories will survive. Great storytellers will thrive. Technology will change. Just, you got to go with the flow.
I love it. Go with the flow. Oh, Bruce Lee. Rest in peace to that man. Hey, thank you so much, sir. Hey, on that note, I'm just gonna leave it at that. It was such a wonderful way to close the show. Hey, thank you all so much for taking that time out of your day to tune into today's episode. You're live with Osiris and good Dr. Eddie Gamarra. Gamarra. I'm gonna get it right one of these days.
All good.
That Spanish pronunciation, yes, sir. Hey, you all take care. I'll catch you next time.